I'm going to do a little thing off the cuff here about people you see standing on the street corners in front of political rallies and different things, talking about how a person should not need an ID in order to cast a vote. And then we'll go into what could happen if that was actually the case. So, I've got a list here in front of me. Didn't take me long to write it either. I'm pretty sure most of these things you need an ID to obtain. So let me go through this list real fast and then we'll go from there. So, you go up to a man or a woman you don't know that got a house or an apartment for rent. Guess what? They want to know who you are. So you need an ID. To get a job, that's right, Democrats who are seeking jobs, you need an ID to get one. A bank account, that's right. Or a check cashing place, that's right. Oh, now some check cashing places will take a picture of you and have that in their computer for future check cashing. It's true. But when you first walked into the joint, you needed an ID. So after you didn't provide your new landlord who doesn't know you with no ID, and this person accepted the cash from you to allow you to stay there, now you got to get your electric hooked up and your cable hooked up and your internet hooked up. Guess what? You need an ID for that. Purchase an automobile, get your license plate, car insurance, ID. A cell phone, including an Obama phone, because to get an Obama phone, you got to be in the system, and you can't be in the system unless you have an ID. Food stamps, Medicaid, like I said, ID. Then you get your Obama phone in the mail. You want to go to the ER? You need an ID. You want to go to a private physician? Guess what they're going to want? An ID. You got Obamacare and you go to your doctor wants your ID. Hunting, fishing license. That's right, you guessed it, ID. You want to put your kids in daycare? ID. You want to drop them off at one of those places that watch your kids from 7 to 11 for parents' night out? You need ID to drop them off, pick them up. When you enroll your kids in school, you need an ID. You also need 2 proofs of residence for that area, like a cable bill and a phone bill. And you can't get those either without. What can't you get it with? An ID. Cigarettes, alcohol, ID. Car rental, ID. Credit card. Guess what? You're not going to get a credit card without an ID. And if you do obtain one, you're not going to be able to use it when they ask you for ID. Getting into the clubs, ID. For all you people from out of state, going to these political rallies, talking about everyone needs to not have an ID to vote, and you're from out of state, how did you check into the hotel and motel? You need ID. What are you, staying at the rest area? George Soros providing you a flop house? You need ID. You can't even rent a shampooer from Walmart or your grocery store without ID. So let's talk about that for a minute. What do they want you to be able to do? They want you to be able to vote without an ID. You can't even be an active citizen without an ID. See, ID laws are in place mainly to prevent you Democrats from loading onto buses and going from polling station to polling station and voting over and over again. That's what ID voting means. So you can't keep repetitively voting for the same person. That's not a republic. That's not a citizen's duty. It's fraud. And that's what having an ID prevents. So if you show me some middle-aged Democrat who's sitting there on their soapbox complaining about voters being forced to have an ID, I just want to ask you, how have you survived without an ID? And that's all I got to say about that.